I think that we should build a new school. I think we should build a school that will have some room to grow. I think that to alleviate some of the overcrowding that's happening in some of our schools, especially at Garnett, I think we can move the fifth grade back into the middle school, which was something that used to be at the middle school. I think eighth grade should stay with the middle school, so I'd like to see a fifth through eighth grade. The way that there are a couple different options, of course, that have been talked about, which is the Chestertown site and keeping that, or building in Wharton. And there's pros and cons to both of those. You know, there are a lot of walkers and a lot of kids that come to the middle school because this is the most concentrated area of students is here in Chestertown. But if you think about the reality of, okay, if we're going to build a new school and we're thinking we want to build it on the same footprint, how do you do that? It's not like you can build next to the current school. And if you are going to demolish that school and then start building on that lot, where do those students go for that time when it's being built? Like where, yeah, and the cost of that. Like, are we keeping, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade in trailers? And where are those trailers? Because they can't be on the construction site. So it is, there's so many things to consider about the location, including how do we do the construction. The Ed Specs committee is coming up with their final sort of recommendations and options, and we just had a Zoom a couple weeks ago where it was, let's get everybody's position on what grade levels should be there, what location should it be attached to the high school, should it be standalone, should it be in Wharton, should it be somewhere else, like, all of these things. And based on that, we came up with sort of a grading of what the committee thought was the best way to go. But one of the next steps, of course, is to bring it to the public, to bring these options to the public and say, this is what we are proposing. These are the options that we can do. What does the community think about this? And I expect that will be happening before the end of the year. So Maryland has changed their standardized test, and I want to say it's happened at least once or twice in my kids' career in school, and so it is harder to track, to say, did we do better than the last time, because it's apples and oranges, which I'm not excusing the fact that we have low scores. I just don't know that standardized testing really shows you what students are learning and what they are capable of. And it is, to me, the test is capturing a moment in time on a day, and should not be the end all. If we're talking about educating and caring for the whole child, which is what we are doing, then we have to consider all of the things that play into that. And standardized tests is just one of those things. I think that we should always expect better. I think the way that I encourage my kids to not be afraid of these tests is that this test isn't about what you know, it's about what you are learning. So the test is always an indicator of what you are learning. So if you are learning the things that you're supposed to know for your grade level, great. But it's always a moving target. I don't think that the goal should be to have the highest standardized test scores. I just don't believe that is the measure of success for a student, and it shouldn't be the measure of success for a school. But yes, you're right. It is the point that everyone looks at. Maryland schools did not do great across the state in the last standardized testing cycle, which was pre-pandemic, and they aren't releasing the data for, I want to say, 2020 or 2021. I don't think that they're releasing the data because they don't think it's fair because of how imbalanced learning was during the pandemic. We do also track our own personalized data, and that's the MAP testing, which I don't know what the letters stand for, but it is the internal testing that we do. And that was what we had based our goals for ourselves, for our schools. And unfortunately, we didn't meet those goals, except for Rock Hall Elementary School achieved both their goals for math and ELA. And so I want to congratulate them again. But they had a team of tutors. I think they had 20 or 30 people that were coming in to help with kids. And that is amazing. And clearly that made a huge difference. Yeah. But that also shows our kids can catch up. Our kids, if given the time and the resources, our kids can do it. Yeah. We just have to make sure that we're giving them the time and the resources. Yeah. That people think the job of the Board of Ed is different from what it actually is. Our main responsibility is to make sure that there are policies in place so that our schools can be successful. And oftentimes those policy mandates are handed down from the state. So we create our own policies that will fit our district and our district's needs, and then they have to be approved by the state. And that's a process. And I will say that the Board of Ed meetings are business meetings because the Board of Ed is responsible for the business side of schools. Schools should not be run as a business, but there are business items that need to be taken care of, like budgets and finances and policies. Also, when I became a Board of Ed member, there's an organization in Maryland called MABE, that is the Maryland Association of Boards of Ed, and they do a new board member orientation, and they go through all of the ethics policies and the purposes and stuff. And they said, your other than policies, your other job is that you have one employee, and your employee is the superintendent. So our other job is enacting policies, voting on policies for our schools, but also reviewing and requesting items from the superintendent. So this idea that board members should be going into schools and monitoring teachers and administrators and principals is not our purview and is not our purpose. Yes, be in our schools so you are familiar with what is going on in our schools. And I say, as somebody with 2 kids, I'm already often in our schools, and I try to go as many events as possible. And I know all of the other board members do as well. We often talk, like, who's going to go to this and who's going to go to that, and we try to go to everything. But it is not and should not be the job of the board to monitor staff. It is not and should not be the job of the board to decide curriculum. It should be up to our professional educators who take the time and effort to select the curriculum that they know will be best for their students. I can't make that decision. And I wouldn't want to be tasked with that decision because it is out of my area of expertise. And it wasn't ever what I intended to be on the board to do, was to select curriculum. And so nationally, we're seeing this big push where parents and people running for the board are pushing for, we want to select the curriculum, the censoring books, like all of these things that aren't what board members should be doing. Is this person going to respect their position and that they are part of a team? I can't make a decision or make a statement that is for the Board of Ed. I am a member of a team that is the Board of Ed. And I could vote for or against things, but I will stand by the decision of the Board of Ed because I respect my peers that are on that board, because I value their opinions, because I know that they have thoughtfully approached the decisions that we've made. I know that they've done their homework. I know that they care, and I know that they have integrity. When you are choosing a candidate, consider that. Is this person going to take this position seriously? Are they also, we as board members should not be representing the interests of a single group. So, does this person represent the interests of the entire school district? Or do they represent the interest of a single group? What is their relationship like with our current schools? Do they have students in our current schools? Did they attend our schools? We have to work together, and we have to accomplish things. Like, we can't just, you see videos and read articles about other Board of Ed meetings that just get out of control and are, they aren't accomplishing what the purpose of the board is when things like that happen.